Good afternoon. Just 48 hours ago, this beautiful, tight-knit community filled with love and friendship and neighbors experienced the unthinkable. This whole region, home to hard-working families, people building their dreams, some incredible place like Corning Glass, not far from here, wineries. Some call it the birth of aviation, right? This story is known, this community is known for so much. It's got charming small towns and little hamlets that I've been through so many times. That's what makes New York special. Places like this. Places like Gaddison, Woodhull, and where we are today in Canisteo. The remnants of Hurricane Debbie that we saw coming up and put in place plans and brought our teams together early on to try to figure out the trajectory of this storm, bringing people, our teams from the state, together early. We just wanted to try and see if we could prevent what has happened here. This storm washed away people's lives and their dreams. Businesses, farms up the road, homes, schools destroyed in matters of seconds. It makes me heartsick to know what the people have gone through. It's more than really one would expect anyone to have to bear. Young families starting out, building the home of their dreams over 5 years, 3 beautiful daughters, escaping barely with their lives. I think it's miraculous that there are no major injuries or fatalities. That is astounding to me. And as the governor, I'm committing to help this community come back. Because in a moment of crisis, we stand as one New York. Do not think that this remote part of our state, in some eyes, does not have as much value as every single place. From our biggest cities to the furthest reaches of this state, every community matters. It has value. So I've already heard from some of our neighbors here that people think they'll be forgotten, that elected officials don't come from this part of the state. Well, I'm the first upstate governor in over 100 years. I know these communities. This is where I come from. You will not be forgotten. And I brought the best of the best with me. I have the commissioner of the entire DOT for all of New York. Marie-Therese Dominguez is here. She has over 200 people on the ground here trying to bring these roads back, fix the bridges, because these are the lifelines. We still have people who are stranded, have to walk miles because their connection to other parts of the community have been destroyed by this storm. Bridges and roads washed out. Commissioner Dominguez, I thank you and your team for being the best, being on the ground where it matters. And I know you're not going into it because I've seen you in action. I want to thank you for all you do for us. The person I was on the phone most with even before this storm, Commissioner Jackie Bray, Commissioner of Homeland Security and Emergency Services. She has seen it all. She has been at my side through the worst of the blizzards, the floods, the tornadoes, hurricanes. We've done it all. She is here on the ground today as well, and I want to thank her and her team for their great leadership. We have a Senator, Tom O'Mara. He fights hard for this community in Albany. I can tell you this. He's not going anywhere. Our Assemblymember, Palisamo, could not be here today, but his chief of staff is here. And to all the elected officials standing behind me, we had a meeting a short time ago. They love their communities so much. They feel heartbroken that the people they care so much about, their own neighbors, their communities, their little businesses, have suffered such an extraordinary great deal. And I thank them for caring so much. We have our Steuben County Legislative Chair, Kelly Fitzpatrick. We spoke on Friday. She put on her best strong voice You're going to hear from her in a couple minutes what has happened in her community. We have Steuben County Administrator Jack Wheeler here. Jack, thank you for everything you've done. We have mayors and supervisors from Canisteo, Addison, Woodhull, Jasper, all over. They're here today because they stand united in rebuilding and sharing ideas and sharing resources. They will help us get this done. Let's start with what has happened during this fairly short time. Heavy rains of 4 to 6 inches impacted counties in Steuben and Allegheny. We had flash flood emergencies issued in Steuben and Allegheny County just around noon on Friday. We had flash floods in all of this area. We had our swift water teams from the state. They had to come and help the local crews and emergency teams. In advance of the storm, we activated over 100 members of the National Guard just to be on hand to help. The waters were so strong and swift here that they moved a double-wide mobile home right up against a bridge. That is powerful. That is the force of Mother Nature. Tuscarora Creek flash flooding caused significant damages to the Jasper Troopsburg High School. There's probably some graduates of this high school around me, but not lately, because this school has been shut down because of the storm Fred from 3 years ago. They were on the verge of reopening, and they were slammed again. The students who thought they were returning to the schools that perhaps their parents went to are now displaced again, not able to start the school year. The farm down the road, owned by Mr. Cliff Moss, lost 400 acres of corn, 200 acres of soybeans, hundreds of acres of hay and equipment. We just walked there as well. There's a lot of pain in this community. I saw it in their eyes. I held their hands. And sometimes people feel like government is not going to listen. I said, we're here. We're not going anywhere. I made that commitment to him. He's worried they're not going to have enough crops to feed the animals through the winter. These are real problems that need real solutions. Woodhull, the downtown businesses, including the feed mill, lost a brand new outdoor seating area. Actually, communities all over the state of New York are experiencing such extreme weather this year. This has been an extremely bad extreme weather year in the state of New York. Places like the North Country and Lewis County seriously damaged. I'll be heading up there in another day or so. They were hit hard by experienced storms in July. Oswego, Jefferson, Lewis, and St. Lawrence had flash flooding Friday and Saturday again. We had widespread power outages causing over 115,000 homes to lose power. I see the crews down the street working hard. We even had a tornado touchdown in New Paltz. All remnants of this storm. Let me tell you about tornadoes. I spent my life in upstate New York. We would read about tornadoes hitting a place called Tornado Alley, those states that you hear on the news with regularity. That was never us. Maybe a freak one every dozen years or so. My friends, in the month of July, New York State had 24 tornadoes touch down. That's more than the entire number of tornadoes that touch down in those states that are known for tornadoes. Obviously, that's our new normal too. 27 total for the year thus far. So as I said, we were preparing for a long time for this event, never realizing how cataclysmic it would end up being. We had over 7,000 utility crews ready to respond. DOT has 3,400 workers deployed. 3,400 workers, that's outstanding. Thank you, across the state. And we've been communicating with our teams locally. We have our disaster recovery staff on the ground. We're going to squeeze every single federal dollar out of the government we can. I've already alerted the White House to expect our calls, but we have to assess the damage first. It takes some time. Our assessment teams are on the ground. Our Department of Financial Services activated their disaster hotline, 1-800-339-1759. We are going to send mobile vans here to help people apply for their insurance, because no one ever saw this coming. They didn't expect to be in this position, but we know how to deal with this. Our state teams will be on the ground answering questions, helping people fill out forms so they can get their insurance money sooner. It's really important for homeowners and businesses to keep track of all their expenses and what they lost. Make an inventory of your belongings. And if you can't resolve a dispute with the insurance company, then we want you to file a complaint with our department. But I also said we have to give people more help, just to get back on their feet while they're waiting for that insurance, while we're trying to get our lives back in order. I've declared that the Homes and Community Renewal Agency will launch an emergency repair program for homeowners in Allegheny, Delaware, Franklin, Steuben, and St. Lawrence counties that were impacted by the storm. All these homeowners who have been impacted will be eligible for grants of up to $50,000 to help pay for reimbursement of expenses related to the storm that aren't covered by insurance or other disaster relief. This is a newer program. This program did not exist 3 years ago when Fred hit this area. It exists now. I said we have to be there as a stopgap measure to help these communities and these individuals get back on their feet. I always brag about New York. I think it's an incredible state, especially parts of it like this. They're so tight-knit, so caring. I say we're historic in many respects. I never wanted to be historic in the extreme weather category, though. But as I mentioned, we've had an historic number of tornadoes, historic flooding, historic extreme heat. And we haven't hit the winter yet. We have historic snowfall. We've had it the last couple of years. I don't like making history like that. But this is our new normal. And we must build up the resiliency, survey our infrastructure, and make sure that we're ready for the next storm, because they are not 1,000-year events anymore. They're not 100-year events. They're happening with regularity in places people never thought they would. This area was just hit 3 years ago. It was hit again, even worse than before. We cannot be back here 1 to 2, 3 years again from now, having a press conference on this site and saying more should have been done. And that's what this commitment is. That's what our commitment is. Keeping New Yorkers safe and healthy is my top priorities, and that's a commitment we will not break. We are here, and we're not going anywhere. And with that, I want to turn it over to County Legislative Chair Kelly Fitzpatrick to get some of her reflections.
Thank you very much. I can't begin to tell you, Governor Hochul, how grateful we are for you visiting us and for you sending your resources and your team to help our area. It means the world to us. It means the world to all of these communities. Government is for the people and by the people. And the actions and the work that we are doing today are going to show that. I hope that we can look at ways to improve our infrastructure so that we can make these events, when they occur, less damaging. We need to reassure the people that live in these communities that we are going to be here for them. We are going to help them recover, and we are going to do everything in our power to see that they can get and build their lives again. We want people to enjoy living in small town New York. We want these communities to thrive, and this is a very important step in making that happen. The other thing that we need to do is to be eternally grateful for our emergency service staff, our police forces, our fire departments, and all those people who train every single day and put their lives on the line to help those who get in trouble in these situations and help keep us safe. I am eternally grateful for the work that they do, and many of them are volunteers. They do this out of the love in their heart for their community. There was a spark in so many people that we talked to today, and I know that they're hurting, that their businesses or their homes have been torn apart, but there is a spark inside all of us that we are not going to give up. We are not going to give up our businesses. We're not going to give up our homes. We are not going to give up on our communities. And the support that we are going to get from the state is going to make a huge difference, and we appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Senator, do you want to say a word or two?
I just want to say thank you, Governor, for being here so quickly. This is a devastating event that we had here with Debbie rolling through, very similar to Fred rolling through 3 years ago. The resilience of these communities has been amazing. The outpouring of support from neighbors, from strangers, frankly, from the Amish community, helping across this region to help people get back on their feet. It's a strong community. You being here means so much to everyone, me included, but particularly those that have been impacted by this devastation, and that the relief that you're here to provide for these individuals and these small businesses moving forward to get back on their feet, to be able to sustain their lives here, where we know this is one of the most beautiful places on earth to live, to raise a family, to work, to farm. It's a great community. We're all together. We're all in this together, and we're happy to have you here with us today. Thank you.
Senator. Thank you. We may be damaged, but we're not broken. We will rebuild. And I want to thank all the teams that have been part of the emergency services, local police and fire, my state police. I saw lots of videos of these state police officers arriving, being there, literally trying to help save people's lives. And so we are blessed to have incredible individuals who work so hard every day to keep us safe. With that, I'll take some questions. I'll bring my commissioners up in case there's any questions that they...
Questions from the press? John?
Yeah, Governor John Anderson.
Oh, no, you're fine.
You talked to some people in this program now with the additional $50,000, but do you think they will be able to get insurance in the future? A lot of them haven't been able to get insurance. Is that something that, I know you talked to a lot of local elected officials, is that something that's been brought up?
You know, this is something where my teams will be on the ground to help people file for insurance. If they are denied, I want complaints filed with the Department of Financial Services to find out why they be denying them. But the question of getting insurance overall is an important one, and I know it's more difficult in flood areas. Commissioner, anything on the insurance?
Just that we're still in the middle of assessing both damage and what insurance will and won't cover. Obviously, across the country, we've seen major challenges with insurance markets. It hasn't hit as hard in New York. That might start to change, but between the Department of Financial Services and my team, we're going to make sure folks get what they deserve.
My question for the DOT, obviously you have a lot of paid people who are working, but what do you think about the volunteers in this region? This is really a volunteer area.
Right.
Stepped up.
Well, as the governor mentioned, DOT has right now just our regional resources. We have over 200 personnel responding and working hand in glove with a number of the local communities here, especially here in Canisteo. We're doing damage assessments to really understand what the road and bridge conditions are, and we'll work to make sure that everybody has a safe and passable transportation system moving forward. Brian, did you have a question?
Okay, all right.
Governor Hochul, Lisa Solozano, WEMY News. I'm just wondering, people on Hochul obviously have mentioned a lot about this happening 3 years ago. You mentioned it as well. They're wondering about management of bodies of water. They're talking about clearing out debris, wondering about that, and they're talking about taking action to, help prevent this from happening again, like it was Fred and Steve. Is there anything being done along those lines?
Yeah, we're taking back a lot of the feedback we received from our elected officials on the challenge of keeping these streams clear in advance of the storms, because you can mitigate and perhaps lessen the impacts if you do not have this vegetation, down trees, debris that is accumulating, particularly at these bridges that jam up and create the conditions that allow for the flooding. So this is an issue we've talked about already. We're going back to our capital, and we're going to be intensely trying to find solutions to this so we do not see a repeat of this stemming from not the community's not inability to be able to clean up the debris. So it's very much top of mind for us.
Last one, Brian.
Okay, Governor Hochul, any thoughts on how long the process would last, how long it would take for you to get all the information from President Joe Biden so he can make a decision with FEMA?
There is some time involved only because the communities have to do their full assessment. So I would say that's the lengthier part of time that's involved. The White House has been very responsive. I mean, I just been talking to them about the damage we had back in July. I remember we had one blizzard. I had a call within 24 hours. So we have strong relationships that are very fruitful for us in a time of a crisis. But the commissioner will be able to give you an estimate of how long it traditionally takes for a community to get the numbers that we have to put in for. You have to see if you meet the threshold. I suspect we will. We'll hit the threshold, but that has to all be calculated. Anything on the time?
Yeah, so we have to add the damage assessments here to the damage assessments primarily in St. Lawrence. If we meet that threshold, that'll go faster. And so 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we have up to 30 days to make that request. But our teams hit the ground on Tuesday. So our teams will be physically here on Tuesday tabulating up what we think this will cost. And as soon as we meet that threshold, it's $37.5 million for the state. As soon as we meet that threshold, the governor will request.
I think it's also important to note that this is a calculation of the impact of one storm event, not just one community, not just one county. So we are able to add up what happened, where I'll be heading in a couple of days up to St. Lawrence County and having the accumulated number, which I'm sure will certainly make it easier to hit that threshold. So, all right.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, thank you. We appreciate you coming out.